What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's my transfer tips for game week 2. So I'm going to go through a bunch of players that are being sold or brought into people's squads and give my opinion on whether they are good options or not. So let's get into it. So let's start with Hugo Ekitike. Great start for him in the Premier League. 1 goal, 1 assist against Bournemouth in game week 1. In terms of bringing him in this week, I think we need to relax just a little bit. If you look at Liverpool's opening 5-6 game weeks, the 2 toughest fixtures arguably are about to happen. So Newcastle away in game week 2. And then Arsenal at home in game week 3. And of course, he's capable of scoring in those games. He's looked really good in a Liverpool shirt so far, but they're not usually the type of fixtures that you would target. Plus, the transfer window is still open. And I just think there's no chance that over the next week or so, Liverpool don't make more attacking signings. Yes, their first 11 looked really good against Bournemouth. Salah, Wirtz, Gakpo, and then Ekitike up front. The bench looked a bit weak, to be honest with you. I know Chiesa came on and scored, but Arne Slot barely used him last year. He can't stay fit. I just don't think he's going to be someone that gets regular minutes. They need another 1 or 2 attackers, and I think they will come in. And we all know the elephant in the room is Alexander Isak, right? And if he comes in, he's going to play number 9. There's no doubts about that. So does Ekitike play off the left, in which case what happens with Gakpo? Either way, those two will get or have to share minutes. And it could be that they also sign someone else that can play wide as well. So I think Isak will come in. I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if they sign another attacker. That just reduces the minutes all around. The only player that we know is going to start every game is Salah. I find it hard to believe that Wirtz will get rested that much, although it could happen. But Ekitike looks good right now. But if you get to game week 4, that Burnley away game, and Isak's at the club, he's probably starting. And you can't guarantee that Ekitike will be in the same 11 regularly with him. So I just wouldn't buy him right now. If you've got him, obviously you keep and just reassess over the next few weeks when you see what happens in the transfer window and stuff like that. And you're off to a great start. You're going to ride some price rises as well. He could get you points in game weeks 2 and 3. But for anyone that doesn't own him, I just avoid him for now. Speaking of relaxing, João Pedro owners, you don't have to sell him after just 1 blank against Crystal Palace in game week 1. And in fact, the next 3 fixtures actually look pretty good. So West Ham away, Fulham at home, Brentford away. Wouldn't mind playing him in any of those games. And they are part of the reason that you would have gone with him in game week 1 in the first place. And ultimately, as is the case with a lot of players this week, if they're going to start in game week 2, I would almost always value the extra information and 2 free transfers in game week 3 rather than kind of overreacting and selling players straight away. And I think with João Pedro, you got exactly in game week 1 what I would have been expecting in pre-season, minus the attacking returns, of course, but he's not going to continue scoring with almost every shot that he has in a Chelsea shirt. But he did start. I think he is probably first choice number 9 with the current squad setup, as long as they don't sign anyone else, which doesn't look imminent. Would I be completely shocked if at some point Liam Delap starts the game instead? Not really, but I don't necessarily expect that to happen anytime soon. But I also wouldn't be shocked if it happened. But he's going to get subbed early because they do have Liam Delap on the bench. So we got 73 minutes in game week 1. I think in some games he will push towards 80, but I don't think it's very likely that he gets much more than that. Like, he can obviously play in other positions, so they could bring Delap on and move João Pedro to like a number 10 role, but that means shifting Palmer to the right, and Maresca doesn't seem to want to do that often. So I think João Pedro will start this week. He'll probably get subbed before the 80th minute, but that is pretty much what I would have been expecting in pre-season anyway. So I still think he's a pretty good option, at least if you've started with him. I wouldn't buy him right now, but there's no way I'd be looking to shift him to someone else just yet. So one forward a lot of people are looking to buy, maybe even some of those João Pedro owners, is Chris Wood, who went up in price last night to 7.6 million. I'm almost too afraid to give my opinion on him and whether he's worth bringing in because of what happened last year. I just got it so wrong with him. To give myself some credit, I never wrote him off as an option this pre-season. I did think from a fixture point of view, I could see why people were going there. Would I buy him in game week 2 before Crystal Palace away? I'm going to say probably not. I think you've missed one of the best fixtures Forest have in the first 6 game weeks. Brentford at home. Lots of people thought they wouldn't be that great this year. That kind of looks to be the case, although it is just one game. So that was a really good fixture. Palace away is not that easy. West Ham at home in 3 is good, but then Arsenal away in 4. So I would say 2 of the next 3 are not ideal. Now you can frame it another way. Once you get to game week 3, you've got West Ham at home, Burnley away and Sunderland at home. 3 of the next 4 game weeks. But buying him now, rushing into it when it's Palace away, I just don't think I would go there. Like, Chris Wood is a good option. We know he's first choice. His minutes look pretty good. He's on penalties, etc. So he ticks a lot of boxes from an FPL point of view. But I still just... He's not going to score 2 goals every week. Although I've been saying this for over a season, he continues to do it. But there was a period towards the end of last season where he really did drop off. I just don't see a big score over the next 3 game weeks apart from maybe West Ham. So you could almost put the transfer off until then. The only issue is he might continue going up in price, especially if he smashes it against Palace away. But I keep coming back to the point. No one, not no one, right, but most people are not sat there with massive problems up front. Like whether you've got Jarrod Bowen, who we're going to talk about later, João Pedro, etc. There's not a major rush to sell those players to go and buy Chris Wood. If you want to do it, I do not begrudge you doing it because he has just looked good under Nuno in a Forest shirt for a very long time now, and maybe that's just going to continue. But they do have Europe starting up, obviously, for the Europa League. They have made a lot of signings. Could Chris Wood's minutes come down a little bit? Possibly. I may be clutching at straws for reasons not to bring him in. If you want to do it, go ahead. But I just think Crystal Palace away at Arsenal away, 2 of the next 3 is not that great. So for anyone that went with Nicholas Füllkrug in game week 1, you're probably sat there a little bit disappointed with no attacking returns against Sunderland, which I completely understand. And all of a sudden that fixture on probably doesn't look quite so good. I think when you're looking in pre-season, you see Sunderland, you think that's great, and then the fixtures afterwards don't look that bad. But now, because you've had the blank, well, it's Chelsea at home, not great. Then it's Forest away, who have been a pretty good defence over the last year or so. Spurs at home, Palace at home. Okay, they're at least at home games, but they're not necessarily easy matches. Then you've got to go away to Everton, then away to Arsenal. If I can give you some positive thoughts on Füllkrug, he only costs you 6 million. So part of the reason to go for him is because he's a budget option, and then you can use your funds elsewhere. He also played the full 90 minutes. Cunha and Mbeumo wasn't even in the squad. So the idea of his minutes taking a massive dip over the next couple of game weeks probably isn't going to happen. And also at that price point, there's not necessarily another forward that is going to be much better value. Like Thiago on penalties at Brentford, if he can keep his place, could be a great option. But there's no real reason to sell Füllkrug to buy him right now. You know, Mayenda, Isidore at Sunderland, there's a lot of competition for minutes there. I just wouldn't be panicking. Peru started last night for Leeds, but then he went off. They've got Calvert-Lewin. They might even go and sign another number 9. Who knows, right? There's not really many players at that price point or below that you need to rush into. So right now, you've still got one of the better budget options. And although the fixture run doesn't look great, 3 of the next 4 are at home. So that's a little bit of a benefit. So I think I would just sit still on him and just wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. I do think below the Strand Larsen price point, forwards look okay-ish, but not great. But one might emerge over the next few weeks. And so that's why I wouldn't rush into doing anything. If you've downgraded a midfielder to upgrade Füllkrug to Chris Wood or something like that, or you had money in the bank, fair enough. But if you're thinking about those kind of moves, that's a -4, right? Because no one's got 2 free transfers in game week 2. So I would just sit still. Very disappointing not to get anything against Sunderland. Is a bit of a worry going forward, but not enough to make any rash decisions. And then it's a similar conversation with Jarrod Bowen at West Ham, only he costs a little bit more money at 8 million, and nearly 200,000 people have already got rid of him. I guess the thing with Bowen is, it's a bit easier to go to another player. You can downgrade to pretty much anyone apart from Watkins, Gyökeres, Isak and Haaland. So if you wanted to downgrade to Chris Wood, you could do that. But again, I know this is broken record alert, but I would just value having that transfer. Like, is the next 3 games for Nottingham Forest that much better than what West Ham have got? Not necessarily. And I know West Ham have not looked good for a while. In fact, they've not looked good under Graham Potter for a sustained period of time at all. And there's already concerns there. I've seen people say he's probably going to be the first manager sacked, etc. I don't know if that will happen, but I wouldn't be completely shocked. The thing is, no matter what team Jarrod Bowen has been in a West Ham shirt, he's always done well. He's always been consistent. At least you know he's going to play 90 minutes every single game. And there is those 3 home games in the next 4. So I would just hold your horses and not get rid of him straight away. I understand the frustration, right? We all want returns when we've got players against Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley, etc. But it doesn't always happen, right? I had Haaland, for example, last year against Southampton at home. He got 1 goal. We all expected a little bit more than that. That can happen. And sometimes, I think a few people mentioned this in pre-season, sometimes going away to newly promoted sides on the opening day, like away from home, is a tough fixture. They're right up for it. So I would not be panicking just yet on Bowen. I would just see how things look from game week 3, 4 onwards and then decide what to do with him. So I'm sure some of you will be looking to potentially bring in a Bournemouth attacker this week. The fixtures look really good starting from game week 2 onwards, especially now that Liverpool away game is out the way. So next 5, Wolves at home, Spurs away, Brighton at home, Newcastle at home, Leeds away. So 3 of the next 4 are at home. And then in game week 6, you've got that Leeds away game. Now, I've got that as a green fixture. I will say they played very well against Everton last night. That fixture might be a bit more difficult. But also, I don't want to change it just yet until we've seen more matches, because ultimately, Everton offered very little for most of that game as well. Either way, I really like Bournemouth's fixtures. I think the difficulty with going with them in game week 1 was because they were playing Liverpool away. But if you went Semenyo, absolutely fair play. So if you need a new midfielder this week, Semenyo has gone up to 7.1. I would say 7.5 and below, if that's the kind of price point you're looking at and you've already got Reinders or you don't want to bring him in for whatever reason. Semenyo is right up there as one of the top options. I still don't think, obviously, you need to rush in and get him just because he scored 2 goals against Liverpool. But he's a really good pick. Simple as that. And I said this in pre-season. He's one of those players, a bit like Ismail Assar at Crystal Palace, that people have got a little bit of a thing about because when they've had them in their team, they've not done that well. But ultimately, Semenyo got 11 goals, 7 assists last year. He has a lot of goal threat in his locker, as we saw against Liverpool. So again, he's not essential. You don't have to bring him in. But if you need a new midfielder, I would definitely consider him. And up front, although he didn't score against Liverpool, Evanilson also a really nice option at 7 million. So let's say you're on João Pedro or a different 7.5 and you just really want to get rid of them, you can't afford Chris Wood anymore, but you've got to transfer them out, then you could look at Evanilson at 7 million, would save you a bit of money, which maybe you can put into another position elsewhere. So yeah, I really like both of these. I think with Kluivert out, Evanilson is probably on penalties, although it could be Semenyo. Kluivert wasn't in the squad for game week 1. It didn't sound from the press conference like he was that far away. So he could be back in game week 2, 3, 4, etc. And then he would probably take up the mantle of taking penalties again. But in the short term, it does make Evanilson a little bit better. But even without those penalties, he has got a good amount of goal threat. So I like both of these players if you're looking for a new attacker in game week 2. So for those that took a punt on John Arias from Wolves in game week 1, massively frustrating that he didn't start the game against Man City. And I can see why people are already looking to get rid of him. If you made the move to Reinders before the price rise, absolutely fair enough. I probably would have done the same thing. What if you've missed that price rise though? I probably wouldn't force the move with a -4. If you're sat there with 0.5 million in the bank, then I probably would do it, but I wouldn't take a -4 to do it, especially if the rest of your team all look like they're going to start in game week 2. Should you sell him to a different midfielder, 5.5 or below? I would say probably not, but I do have slight concerns over whether he'll start in game week 2. Because if the manager didn't fancy him against that Man City team, it's not any easier going to play Bournemouth away. That's such a high-intensity game. So I don't think it's a guarantee that he'll start. But I think, again, in most cases, I would give him the chance to see how he plays and then decide what to do game week 3 onwards. If you really want to sell him, there is quite a few options, 5.5 or below. I'll just go through the list of those that scored points in game week 1, just to give you some really quick opinions. O'Reilly at Brighton on penalties ahead of Rutter, but Welbeck wasn't on the pitch. There have been lots of rumours that he might leave. I don't know if that's still likely to happen, but it is a possibility. Stack at Leeds for 5 million looked really good. Took a lot of corners and also I think got defensive contributions last night. Yeah, 13 defensive contributions, so he only needed 12. So he got the additional 2 points. And I think he got an assist as well. Yeah, he got an assist for the penalty. Took lots of corners. He could be really good for 5 million. But again, you're reacting quite quickly to one game week. Oscar Bob, like Reinders, could be amazing value if he keeps starting right wing. I'd say there's a few more concerns about his minutes compared to Reinders, especially if Savinio stays. Anderson is a good pick for 5.5. Only got 6 points versus Reinders 10 in game week 1. But we know he's going to tick over with some attacking returns. He took some set pieces as well. And he's good for defensive contributions. He hit 11 in game week 1. So he was only one off getting another 2 points. So he came very close to getting an 8-pointer. Adingra and Taubi at Sunderland are options. Sarr at Spurs I would avoid. I just don't know long term if he's going to stay in the team. Like if Eze comes in, he'll play 10. Does Sarr always play in the 2 behind? Not necessarily. And then there's a bunch of options. Harry Wilson, people have already said to me, like, what are you on about his minutes and Fulham trying to buy players? That he's off the mark of a 5-pointer. They may still bring players in before the transfer window shuts. I think for him, as I said multiple times in pre-season, I'd wait until game week 4. If they don't have someone else that can play right wing in the transfer window, and he looks like he's going to start in game week 4, that's when I would look to jump on him. So there are a few players you could go to. I guess the question is it such a rush to get rid of him? I think I would just about favour saving the transfer, but I'm a little bit less sure with Arias because he might not start. So if you want to sell him to Anderson or Stack or someone like that, yeah, I think it's fine to do, even though it's frustrating to have to do it. Let's talk about two other midfielders, Cunha and Mbeumo, who both blanked against Arsenal in game week 1. But I think if you watch that game, Man United played better than the results suggested, and both of these players were a threat. Bearing in mind how good that Arsenal defence is, Cunha put up 0.4 expected goals, and Mbeumo put up 0.43, which is not bad against that defence. And they both like shooting as well. Mbeumo took 5 shots in that match, and Cunha took 4. So there's definitely promising signs. I think if you haven't started with them, there's no need to rush into buying them. Because although it's Fulham away, Burnley at home next 2, it is then City away, Chelsea at home. So it's not as good in game weeks 4 and 5. But overall, actually, from 2 to 7 now, it doesn't look too bad at all. You got 2 home games against Burnley and Sunderland, obviously newly promoted sides. 2 of the away games are Brentford and Fulham, and at least the Chelsea games at home. So for anyone that wants to go and buy one of these 2 players, I don't completely hate it, but I still don't think I'd be rushing to do it. Which one would I buy? That's actually quite difficult because Mbeumo is taking some set pieces. Neither of them are going to be on penalties, but I just got this feeling that Cunha is going to be the bigger goal threat over a longer time between the 2. So I think just about Cunha, but again, there's no rush to go and buy Man United players. I've also obviously had a few comments around Bruno Fernandes. He's a mistake. These 2 are the players to buy. I think it's a little bit quick to say that's the case. Because with Bruno, he did take up a deeper role, but he still put up 0.45 expected goal involvement. And I think the problem with someone like Bruno is people get so fixated on his positioning on the pitch. When he's in a deeper position, people are like, look how deep he is, look how deep he is. And they kind of miss when he goes forward. So he was still creating some chances. He does have a bit of goal threat. He is the one on penalties. We know his minutes are secure, but it does look like all of their minutes are probably going to be quite secure. So if you want to save $1 million and you really want a Man United midfielder for these next couple of fixtures, I'd probably go Cunha. But if you've got Fernandes, yes, long-term, Cunha and Mbeumo might be slightly better value, but I don't think you need to rush in to kind of making that switch or anything like that. If you've enjoyed that video, make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button. I'll be back tomorrow with a game week preview. I'll see you then.